Hey, Reddit, Jack here, navigating life post-divorce at 35. Recently inherited a fortune from my dad. The catch? My ex-wife, Sarah, 35, and I were in the midst of our divorce when this windfall happened. Our 4-year marriage crumbled under financial strain, and she left because I couldn't provide. Now, I'm wrestling with newfound wealth and old wounds. To be truthful, my divorce isn't final yet, and my soon-to-be ex-wife is now begging to be back in my life. She had kicked me out of the house she bought years ago, and she sent me divorce papers a few days later. To the details now, I am the only child of my parents. It's been a funny existence, to be fair. I'm Indian, my parents moved over here, France, before they had me. My dad was, to be honest, I don't even know what he was. All I know is that he was a good father. He was home all the time, didn't go to work, and so did my mom. I always wondered how he was even able to afford what was just a simple existence. When I got older and started to understand how money worked, I occasionally asked him what he did, which meant he was always home. I wanted to know because I wanted to do the same also. I went to government schools from nursery all the way to university, this due to money issues. By money issues, I mean the lack thereof, or so I thought. I had a friend, Sarah, you can already see where this is going. She and I were the only Indians in our school, which didn't mean anything apart from the fact that she and I felt safe in our company. We did everything together as kids, and grew up together. Both of our parents knew each other, and I even heard once or twice that both our fathers worked together. They always encouraged us to have fun, play and do things together, school and otherwise. I remember when things changed, when I was 19. My mother and I went to Bangladesh to visit her parents. We spent 2 months there. It was the best of all the holidays we had gone on in my life. I was happy to be in and around the culture, to go to ceremonies, to see how they said prayers there, and especially to see my grandparents. While I was there, I one day overheard my parents talk about an arranged marriage of some sorts.
Hey everyone. Unfortunately, basically everyone who is watching these videos isn't subscribed. It would mean the world to me to quickly get out of the full screen video for 3 seconds and press that subscribe button. It's free, and you can unsubscribe anytime. Sorry for bothering, and thank you so much if you subscribed.
I wasn't clear on the details because I was just walking past when I heard it, and I didn't stay to listen. I just continued with my life. So, after the months we spent there, I came home. Sarah had changed. Some of you already know where this is going, but for those who didn't, here's a little rundown. She was always beautiful, something I already knew. For I went to India, she was short, probably 4'11", 5 foot or 5 feet 1 inch. When I came back, she had grown into a stallion. I always had a thing for taller ladies, and I'm pretty tall myself, standing at 5 feet 10 inches. Other things I didn't notice about her started to become more noticeable. She was there when I came home. She and my dad welcomed us home. She brought croissants and a fruit basket with her. She had dressed real nice, like it was an event of some sorts. I won't lie to you, she looked mesmerizing. Like She gave me a passionate hug that lasted a while. We went out that day, anywhere to, as she said. I can't remember where we went that day, some of those places have even closed right now. A few days later, we went to Paris together. We had both decided to take a year off before going to university. The year off had come to an end, and we decided to check out the university we had both applied to and gotten accepted. Paris Sciences et Letters, the PSL Research University, Paris. We had a swell time there. She booked a hotel for both of us. We went to a party that night, stayed till 1 a.m. Then, we went to a nearby restaurant, as the only reason we left the party was because Sarah was wasted and hungry. We bought a few things, she paid, and we headed for the hotel we booked. When we got to the hotel, she got undressed in front of me.
Yeah.
Cue massive young boy penal panic. She put on a nightgown and joined me in bed. We had a long drunken conversation, laughed and played board games together. I must admit that when she became more than just a friend to me, I remember wanting to kiss her that day. I couldn't, because she was drunk and it would seem like I was taking advantage of her. Sarah and I waxed stronger as a pair. A few months into uni, I told about my newfound feelings for her and we started dating. We were in the same department and because both our families were close, we were allowed to rent a place off campus together. We were inseparable. Sarah was a bit of a materialistic girl. What do I mean a little bit? She is very materialistic. She also was an only child and her father, unlike mine, flaunted his wealth. To be honest, I'm still trying to figure out what it was they did. She had everything she wanted, her own car at 17, Mercedes-Benz. They had set up a trust fund for her, she had a platinum card and she lavished money at any given chance. Throughout our stay in uni, she paid for the house we lived in. Now, tell me why two students who didn't make any money for themselves would live in a 3-bedroom apartment that had a pool? I sometimes told her she didn't need to spend as much as she did. That we would still survive perfectly if we stayed in a self-contained apartment, if we cooked most of the food we ate, instead of ordering takeout every day. She never listened anyway, her dad funded her lifestyle and she was already spoiled. That was the only downside of being with her. I didn't have money, nor did I have wealthy parents, so I thought, and I didn't like accepting money from strangers, something my parents taught me against. After school we were both 23, I applied for a job as an assistant lecturer in the university which I schooled at. Sarah refused to get a job, stating that her mother was a housewife so she would too. I accepted that fact as I thought it was only fair that I provided for my family, just like my father did. Mind you, we weren't married yet. Fast forward 8 years later, I had become a respectable lecturer in the university. I decided it was time for Sarah and I to get married. We were already dating for 12 years at this point. She was happy to tie the knot with me and her happiness, and mine were the only thing I wanted. We had both agreed that, like our parents, we were going to have just one child and we planned to stay without kids for a while before having children. Having one child was my idea and the waiting till later was hers. We were very compatible and everyone around us saw that. One problem though, a year after we got married, Sarah's father stopped funding her extravagant lifestyle. His words were, "You're now married, so your husband should now cover your expenses. Learn to live by your husband's means." That was good advice he gave her there, and I wish she had heeded it. Of course she didn't, for you can't unspoil a spoiled fruit. It didn't take long for her to start getting frustrated with my situation. My father and hers had tried to lure me into their business, which I didn't join cause it sounded shady. Maybe that was why her father cut her off. She started nagging me, she started denying me time with her, and sometimes we didn't even talk for weeks. It was annoying, how could something so sweet go sour so quick? She even vowed to make my life a living hell. She fulfilled her promise, trust me. I started to hate going home. The lecturer's salary I earned wasn't much, but to me it was an honest living. It was enough to more than take care of both of us and even enough to add a child's expenses. But nope, no way, she wanted me to earn $500,000 or more a year so she could have enough money to buy a Maybach every other day. She wanted Chanel purses and Louis Vuitton bags, one of which cost more than I earned in a month. It didn't take long for her to decide she's had enough. At the 3-year mark, as I planned our 3rd anniversary, she changed the locks on the house. It was a big house, one she bought on a whim because she had the money in her trust fund. I swear she really knew how to make a man cry. She kicked me out of the house. The very next day, as I walked into my office in school, there it was, divorce papers. I sat there, deep in thoughts. I didn't know what to say or do, I didn't know how to feel or how to try and fix it. I went home to my dad's. I didn't show up at work for days. I was thinking about how I lost my best friend, my lover and my woman. I stayed home for a while as I tried so hard to get my life together. I started going to the gym. I decided I wasn't going to just let it go easy, cause she wanted a percentage of what I had earned. She cited the fact that we had been together for close to 16 years should count for something, the fact that because of me she didn't work for those long years, which was a lie. I had to go to court. My parents opted to stay out of our little disagreement, as they thought we would settle our dispute. While I was home, my father tried again and again to make me join in his business. He respected the fact that I wanted to teach but wanted me to have a good life. He claimed that working with him would give me just that. I didn't want to join him because I had a bad feeling about it, and also, I felt that staying home all day would definitely not be good for my mental health. At some point my father stopped asking. Just 5 months ago, my father died from what seemed like a heart attack. He was buried days later, as was a part of our culture. His lawyer met me at the burial and told me that his dad had a plan and in a few months he would read me his will. When I got home, I thought about what would be in the will. The house may be a few $1,000s, say $200,000 max. Well. I was wrong as fuck. I saw Sarah at the burial. She looked beautiful. She waved at me and later on came to give her condolences. She then went on to talk about the divorce, saying that due to the loss she would ease up the divorce case. She did as she said though, a real woman of her words, that lady. She rewrote the divorce clauses and I signed them, then I was told that the divorce would be settled in 4 months. Just last month, Sarah called me. She went on a full rant crying profusely as she told me that her father had been arrested. She didn't know why, but that she needed comforting. I was tempted to go see her, but as I put my clothes on and headed over, I was met at my door by my mom and our family lawyer. He had come with the will which he said he'd be bringing. It was a video message and then a bunch of documents that I needed to sign. In the video message my father explained how he was happy that I didn't cave and joined him in his business. He spent a few hours explaining what his business was all about. It's something I can't go into because of how incredibly illegal it was. He then said that he knew he was dying and he opted not to die quietly. He decided he was going to out the whole enterprise. After that he went into talking about his assets. I was wowed. He had millions and he lived life as though he didn't even had anything. He drove a Honda Civic. I laughed, to be honest. He gave the lawyer 1.3 million euros for being loyal. Imagine that. He said he had opened a trust fund for myself, which contained over 10 million euros. He had bought himself an island worth 104 million pounds, the island which now belongs to me. Then he left my mum, according to him, whatever is left after the police is done with them. I signed the documents and got the cards and pins and whatnot. This shit is real, I said to myself. In just an hour, I had gone from having just 12,000 euros in my account to not needing to work a day in my life ever again. Just moments later, my soon-to-be ex-wife called me again, saying that I promised to come and I haven't, so I went over. We spoke at length about how the year has been on her. She complained about not always having money, how her father had slowly started to lose money, how her family house was visited by the police frequently. She said she was going to sell the house and move into something smaller. In the conversation, I let it slip that my dad had left me a huge sum as an inheritance. Her jaw dropped at the realization. Just as we were in our final stage of the divorce, I now have more than enough money to take care of her over-the-top needs. Well, as the title suggests, I started to see a change in her behavior. She started to actively try to slow down the divorce process and started to try to win me back. It wasn't working. I only entertained her bullshit because I feared she could have enough of a claim to my inheritance. She started to come over to my house frequently, started to wear revealing outfits and trying to seduce me. In my head I know what it's all about. She's figured out that I have money and now she's throwing herself at me. Very gold-diggerish of her. Now this is where I need your help, guys. What would you do if you were in my shoes? Obviously I'm not taking her back, but should I stop seeing her? What do I do honestly? Update. This chapter of my life, Reddit, is an odyssey of healing and self-discovery. Inheritance became a double-edged sword, cutting through the remnants of a broken marriage while unveiling the resilience of the human spirit. As I move forward, I carry with me the lessons learned from a marriage that crumbled and a heart that learned to mend. I appreciate the help and the kind words. I felt I had to update you guys on how things are right now. The initial post was 3 months ago, and a lot of things have come to light since then. My divorce has been finalized, which is one, so I don't have to see or speak to Sarah except I decide on my own to do so. Secondly, Sarah's father has had his assets and accounts frozen and seized from him. Everything he and my father illegally obtained over the last 40 years were stripped off him. I started to wonder how they didn't even get to me. This was something quite interesting. After they took what they took off my mom, she still had over 787,000 euros, which she decided she would move home to India with. She left just last week. Now on to my wife, or better suiting, ex-wife. When they were done with her family, there was nothing left, just the house they lived in, a few thousand in the bank, and the money in her trust fund. Money which she had blown up. Her mother and her fought for weeks. She called me and cried after one of said fights. She cried as she told me she made a mistake, how she should have listened to her father when he told her to be contemptuous with what I could offer, how she should have listened to me when I said she should cool it with the lavish lifestyle. She cried and I listened without saying a word. When she was done, I just put down the phone. I'm planning on moving away from the country before I get found out or anything. I met the lawyer and we talked about the situation on the ground. He assured me that my father had planned for this, and that the inheritance won't be taken away. I have decided I will leave on the 15th of next month. I would retire to the island I got as part of my inheritance. I would hire a few workers, farmers, cleaners, and whatnot. I plan to live in isolation. The simplicity my dad taught me has been well received, and I would pass it on should I get a chance to. I might update this again and I might not. All I need from you guys now is your well wishes. Hope no French police officers are seeing this. I'll be selling the family house, as I said. As for Sarah, she now works at a small startup company. I hope for her sake she's learned her lessons. I might see her one last time before I leave. I wish her the best in her endeavors, but a part of me is hoping she gets treated badly in her next relationship. Hope I'm not evil for wishing so? Well, Reddit. That's my life, all written out for you. I hope this doesn't end up on YT.